Welcome back to Spark Recaps. Today, we're diving into Symbol, a mind-bending and thought-provoking adventure directed by Hitoshi Matsumoto. This film is a surreal journey that will leave you questioning reality, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. The story begins with a Japanese man waking up in a stark, all-white room. He's dressed in vibrant, colorful pajamas, which starkly contrast with the sterile environment around him. The room has no doors, windows, or even a visible ceiling. As he explores, he notices something peculiar sticking out of the wall, a protuberance shaped like a male organ. Intrigued, he pokes it a few times and then presses it. Suddenly, hundreds of giggling baby angels emerge from the floor and walls, lingering briefly before vanishing. But they leave behind something even stranger. Male members now protrude from the walls and floor. This bizarre event marks the beginning of a phase called learning. The man sniffs the finger he used to touch the odd button, screams in shock, and pleads for help, but no one responds. Desperate, he begins pressing various buttons to see what happens. Each press results in a new object materializing in the room, ranging from a tiny toothbrush to a large vase. By repeatedly pressing one button, he accumulates a pile of chopsticks. His amusement is short-lived though, as pressing another button causes a small cart to roll out and slam into his legs. Another button makes a butt emerge and pass gas right in his face. Hours later, the room is filled with an assortment of random objects. When he throws a ball at the wall, it triggers a button that delivers sushi. Hungry, he excitedly reaches for it, but realizes there's no soy sauce. He pleads for it, but again, no response. He continues pressing the button, accumulating more sushi, but still no soy sauce. Frustrated, he eats the sushi, which he finds surprisingly delicious. After finishing the last piece, he presses the button again, receiving more sushi, and this time, a bottle of soy sauce appears. Enraged, he pushes the bottle away and presses another button, which gives him a pair of old-fashioned 3D glasses. When he puts the glasses on, he's shocked to see a baby angel pointing at his member. This excites him as he thinks he's finally found a solution. However, pressing the button again only results in a countdown followed by a giant butt hovering above him, releasing gas once more. The man, having spent hours reading manga for entertainment, tries to get the 6th volume by pressing the appropriate button, but instead receives the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Frustrated, he presses one final button, revealing a hidden door in the wall. Overcome with excitement, he rushes toward the door, but in his eagerness, he loses track of which button actually opens it. He presses one at random and sees an African tribesman running across the walls. The next button drenches him in water, and the third one finally opens the door. However, when he tries to reach it, the door slams shut in his face. He tries again, only to be met with the same outcome. Realizing that the door stays open as long as the male member tip is pressed down, he begins experimenting with different ways to keep it down. First, he tries using his foot in a runner's stance, then a fly swatter from a distance. Neither works. He even attempts to use a jumping rope and a fan's airflow, but all in vain. Determined, he climbs onto a cart and pushes it, hoping to keep the button pressed down. After multiple failed attempts, he realizes he needs to make the button heavier. He places a large vase on top of the button, but it still pops back up. He decides to fill the vase with water, but no matter how hard he tries to redirect the water, it only falls on him. Next, he fills the vase with sushi, but it becomes so heavy that he can't lift it. The neck of the vase is too narrow for his hand to fit through, so he uses chopsticks to remove pieces of sushi one by one. Eventually, he removes enough to lift the vase, but upon reaching the button, he forgets which one he needs to press. In frustration, he accidentally triggers the wrong button, and an African tribesman appears again, causing the vase to crack and break. Completely losing control, the man begins yelling in despair, but finally locates the right button and attempts to cover it with sushi. However, the little male organ pops back up, causing him more frustration. He tries to cover it with tape and even uses a steel plate, but nothing works. Exhausted, he takes some painkillers and tries to brush his teeth. Unfortunately, he presses the wrong button, and a rope falls from the ceiling. This new development lifts his spirits, and he gets an idea. He'll use the rope to swing across the room before the door closes. His plan fails when he discovers the door behind the fake wall is locked. He returns to the room just before the door closes, only to be struck by it again. In frustration, he kicks the wall, activating another button and revealing a floating key in the middle of the room. But, like the door, the key vanishes as soon as the button is pressed. And so, the man's journey continues in the phase known as future, where even the slightest action can lead to unexpected results. In the middle of the room, the key disappears when the button is pressed. The perk fades again, so the man must find a way to keep both the key in the room and the door open. However, before he can proceed, he needs to locate the button again, having lost track of it after getting distracted. By estimating where his foot might have landed when he kicked the wall, he spots a button. But as soon as he presses it, a dog bursts from the wall and barks at him. The same happens with the next button. Fortunately, on his third attempt, he succeeds. Keeping his eyes and pointing hand focused on the button, the man backs up and grabs a piece of sushi fish. He takes it back to mark the correct button. Yet, when he presses it, the dog appears once more. Quickly, he identifies the correct button and proceeds with his plan, summoning a rope to swing toward the buttons. But the swing isn't enough. As he falls to the floor, he notices a plunger he obtained from one of the buttons, which sparks an idea on how to resolve his issue. He can use the plunger to touch the wall and push himself further. After one failed attempt, the plan works. Using the plunger while swinging from the rope, he presses the key button, grabs the key, presses the door button, and rushes to the door before it can close. He wastes no time inserting the key and turning it. However, when he tries to open the door, he encounters an unpleasant surprise, a separate lock at the top requiring a combination of 3 numbers. The man, frustrated, is hit by the closing door. In his annoyance, he throws the plunger at the opposite wall, accidentally triggering the button that releases the African tribesman. As the tribesman walks past him, the man notices something. 3 numbers are painted on his forehead, likely the combination needed for the lock. With the limited time remaining, the man follows the swinging rope process 3 times to input each number of the combination. The 3rd time, he remains at the door, struggling to open it. It's stuck, and he has to push extra hard. Finally, when he manages to get the door open, the wall behind him closes, trapping him in a tight space and making it impossible to finish opening the door. Devastated, he sits on the floor and begins crying, reflecting on the time he spent with the objects from the buttons. He recalls how, even though he was once locked in, at least there was room to move and some entertainment. Now, realizing he didn't appreciate it enough, he feels regret. Suddenly, a breeze touches his face. He finds a crack in the left wall, revealing it's a fake. Without hesitation, he pushes the panel open and runs, soon finding himself in a mysterious hallway floating in a pitch-black void. It feels like an eternity as he runs, but when he finally reaches a room, his hair has grown longer and the colors of his pajamas have faded. The room is empty and the door closes as soon as he enters. This time, instead of baby angels, there are adult ones who vanish into the wall, leaving only their members behind as buttons. This is the phase known as practice. Meanwhile, in Mexico, little Antonio's family grows concerned about his father, the wrestler Escargot Man, who has been unusually quiet. His wife suspects it's because his next opponent is much younger, but his grandfather insists experience matters more than youth. Escargot Man is picked up by his daughter, Sister Karen, who drives him to the ring early to prepare, which includes changing clothes and praying to the Virgin. At school, Antonio is bullied by classmates for betting on Escargot Man, calling him weak. As the match approaches, Sister Karen picks up Antonio and his grandfather to take them to see the fight. She doesn't stay, and the two find the last available seats just before the show begins. The first team in the ring is the Northern Tough Ones, Super Demon and Tequila Joe. Then, Escargot Man and his partner Silver Eagle, under the team name Kiss Me A Lot, enter. Silver Eagle starts strong, but is overpowered when the Northern Tough Ones fight him together. Escargot Man hesitates to join the fight, but when Silver Eagle tricks Super Demon and Tequila Joe into hitting each other, Escargot Man joins in, though he's soon overpowered himself. Just as his opponent is about to strike with a chair, the mysterious man in the room presses a member button. Escargot Man's neck magically extends, knocking out both opponents with a headbutt. The man in the room tries pressing the same button repeatedly, causing Escargot Man to knock out Silver Eagle, the referee, Antonio, and even the bell. Frustrated, the man begins experimenting with different buttons. One causes a metal band singer to breathe fire at his audience in Los Angeles. Another makes a Russian magician fail his trick. And the third causes a man in China to bark at his dogs. Just as he's about to give up, the man notices light coming from above. Unlike the previous room, this one lacks a ceiling, and he can see angels flying in the distance. He decides to try something new, climbing the walls using the member buttons. As he ascends, pressing or stepping on the buttons causes amazing events on Earth, from flowers blossoming to an elephant dying. The higher he climbs, the more complex the effects, from nature to humanity, both little and big things, like a toaster and a moon landing. By the time he reaches the top, his hair and beard have grown long. Now, he no longer needs to hold on to the wall. He floats, just like the angels. Using his newfound experience, he embraces his role as a deity, selecting humanity's most significant moments on purpose instead of randomly pushing buttons. Surrounded by feathers instead of walls, he steps into a glowing portal, which leads him to the final room. On the walls, the continents are displayed, and a massive member button waits. The man is about to press it. This is the phase known as future. At this point, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. We appreciate your support.